no matter what you're going through. People are always going to have an opinion. It's inevitable. And the more miserable they are, the more they're going to try to give an opinion because they're not happy of where they are. And a lot of people aren't happy. A lot of people don't want to see you happy. So they're going to do everything they can to try to take away your light. Don't let no one take your light. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Ignite the World podcast, episode number 16. Have some grace for yourself. Anyone out there just feel you're going too hard on yourself, or people's opinions are weighing you down, or you forget your self-worth, your value because of the situation that's in front of you right now? Well, we're going to unpack that a little bit in today's episode because I recently felt like that a few days ago. And this is what I've figured out. And it takes some humbling. It does take some humble pie that you eat. Now, I've been trying to battle ego for the longest of times, personally. And it's an ongoing journey. But when you detach yourself from your ego, you start to see how simple things are and how much of this world is way beyond you, or you and your current circumstance, or whatever circumstance you may be going through, whatever trial you may be going through. And I want this to be a reminder to everybody that we don't control anything. You see, God is incredible. This is why I'll always put my faith in God, because he sees bigger than what I see at this very moment. He sees the longer term, the longer term. I mean, if you think about the sun and the moon and how that whole system works, sun rises, sun comes down, that's God, right? And that takes humility to realize, like, my little problem or whatever little problems we're dealing with now is way beyond that. But I want to tell everybody, we don't control anything. The only thing we control is how we show up to each situation. If you're getting married outside and it rains all of a sudden, you control how you react. We don't control that. Right? If you're going to the most important meeting of your life and you get pulled over, we don't control that. If you're recording a video and all of a sudden you have technical difficulties, like the mic goes out, you don't control that, but you can control how you show up to that. If you're doing the best you can as a parent, right, and your child may be acting out, you don't control that, but you control how you show up to that situation. See, we are all given the control of free will and how we show up to things, but we don't control anything. And like I said, it takes some humility to realize that. But once you start realizing that, you start to find that your life can become a little bit more peaceful in what it may be looked at as the crazy world we live in now. I also want to mention just the fact of having some grace. I can't think enough how great God's grace has been in my life. Through every time, through every trial, through every era, through every year of just finding myself, and he not give up on me. He not give up on you. It's never too late. So we need to have grace on ourselves. We don't know how to do it, what to do. We're learning as we go. Faith it till you make it. I think that's one of the big things I was talking about with my wife. Everyone's going to have an opinion about something. Everyone's going to feel like they know the right answer. All these opinions, but no one's really in or knows what we're living, or where our hearts are, or our calling, our journey that God has for us. See, and when you start listening to those opinions, and when you start having not a lot of grace for yourself, you might be getting your head. I know we did for a little bit. We started to question ourselves like, wow, are we good parents? Are we not doing something right? But then you have to peel back those layers. And when you peel back those layers, you realize, like, hold up, we're only 34 and 33. We're still learning it. We don't have it all together. Of course, the person saying that is over 50. That makes sense. Again, we had to have grace within ourselves and know that, hey, where we are going and where we intend to go is way different than the person who was given the advice or so quick to cast a stone of what we're not doing, right? Let's talk more about the things that are going great. Let's start looking at life in that perspective. And when I started talking to my wife about that, it all came full circle. Like, wait, well, that's why. Because we are reshifting everything and how it's going to be and how we are changing this whole generation. And that's having grace. I know anyone out there, I'm a millennial. I was recently turned 34. It can get very tough. It is tough being in our shoes right now. We've lived through every means of technology, right? We grew up in an era where it was still VHS camcorders, Polaroid pictures, those quick disposable cameras, to embarking on the internet, still going outside to play, still watching TV. And then the internet came, we were on AOL, Instant Messenger, dial-up. Then all of a sudden, things started to progress. We get CD players, see cassettes, right? We get DVDs, we get Blu-rays, and all of a sudden, these smartphones start coming out. It's no longer just a snake game on the phone. Oh, we can browse the internet, get a sidekick, you can do AOL Instant Messenger from the sidekick. Anyone younger than the millennials, those were like the first ways of like cool texting keyboards on a phone. Then as it progresses, the internet, MySpace takes over. Your top 8, you post a bulletin, right? For new photo comments, new friend requests. And then it keeps going and going. And now we have smartphones that have social media platforms. We're so easily to be connected to. We're using video. I'm using video on a platform where people are watching YouTube more than cable TV. Imagine that, right? We've been through all of it. And what I'm saying is tough now because there's a lot of pressure now, right? Everyone wants to have an opinion, but no grace for us. Well, there's one person who has the grace for us, and that's God. And I encourage you to lean into him. Because if not, it can get very overwhelming in this world. Oh, when you getting married? Well, marriage costs a lot of money if you want to have a wedding. You could try to cut corners and everything, but you might want to invest in a big wedding because it's that one time that you can bring all your family together and have an experience, right? You can set the tone for the future generation. So that's going to be a big investment. Do you do that? Or do you use that money for a down payment on a home? Because home ownership is always like people are talking about it. Who are older than us, buy a home, buy now. Well, the home we want is $600,000, and that's becoming the new normal for a home, especially in my area. $500,000, $400,000, right? Down payment. What do? Do you get married with the big wedding, or do you go put a down payment on a home? It's going to continue to rise. It seems like the cost of living is going up. We're having kids. You start thinking like, does it even make sense if both parents work, if one paycheck and one earning might just go all to daycare? Why not just stay home? And everyone wants to have opinions about all of this when we're doing the best we can. Yes, we are. We're all still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure it out. So you're not alone. This is a message for all my millennials out there and people who are in my age bracket. You are doing great. You're doing the best you can. Things will get better. You have to see dark before you see light. It's inevitable. If you look at a flame, if you light a candle, right? If you light a candle and you're in the dark and you look up, you'll see that the light stays consistent, but there's always these black shadows, this darkness that tries to overcome that light. That's life. You got to stay in the light. Got to stay in the light. It will get better, I promise. Anybody out there, anyone hearing that. And if you keep God in your heart and trust in Him and have Him guide you, it is always right. It is not good or bad. It simply is what is to get to where you need to go. We're all on a journey, right? Have some grace on yourself and remember, you control how you show up. We don't control how things go. That would be too easy. Too easy. But we control how we show up to situations. When the pandemic happened, we were going through everything together as a world. For those 2 years, it's like a black hole. It seems like you could look at it as something negative and why things are they are now, but I look at it as a positive. It was the best thing that happened because I was able to really trust self, trust God, lean in more, isolate, be with my family, and trust that I'm going to still prevail in doing video production. I'm going to still help others. Yes, I'm going to find myself, yes, and I'm seeing that now. It's all unfold. I only speak about me because I experience it, and who better to experience it and teach than what I'm doing right now. Have some grace on yourself, guys. It's rough out here, but it depends how you want to look at it. You might consider it rough, but I feel like it's making you stronger. When we think of a fight that happened over the weekend, Garcia versus Tank, I didn't see a winner or a loser. I saw two young men who are phenomenal at what they do, who have trained for this moment for, I believe it's been 3 years in the making, who actually didn't duck each other, who made it happen, and they gave it the best they could. The loser, quote unquote, is he really the loser when he probably learned a ton? And at a ripe age of 23, who knows what his story and his journey is going to be? That loss might have had to happen in order for him to really, truly get the most of what his path is. Yeah, I want everyone to think about that. No matter what you're going through, people are always going to have an opinion. It's inevitable. And the more miserable they are, the more they're going to try to give an opinion because they're not happy of where they are. And a lot of people aren't happy. A lot of people don't want to see you happy. So they're going to do everything they can to try to take away your light. Don't let no one take your light. No. Shine. Even in the darkest of times, you can still shine. Because guess what? Every day starts with a bright and rising sun. Choose to be bright, everybody. Have some grace for yourself and control how you show up. And here's the bonus. Keep God first and let Him guide. You guys stay strong out there. Much love to each and every one of you tuning in. Ignite the World podcast. Remember this. We are all like sticks of dynamite. The power's on the inside, but nothing happens until the fuse gets lit. Ignite the world.